and welcome to another episode of Feminine Scope. I am Amanda Ezekwe. Feminine Scope addresses issues concerning women, their triumphs and challenges in the society. The International Women's Day grew out of the labor movement to become a recognized annual event by the United Nations. In 1908, 15,000 women marched through New York City, demanding shorter working hours, better pay, and the right to vote. The idea to make the day international came from Clara Zetkin. She suggested the idea in 1910 at an international conference of working women in Copenhagen, Denmark. It was celebrated in 1911, but was actually made official in 1975 when the United Nations started celebrating the day. Has gender equality been sustainable? Have we been able to break the bias? To have this discussion with me is my guest, Chika Chukwu, founder, Mommy Moves and Magic. Please join us after the break. Welcome back. The International Women's Day has become a day to celebrate how far women have come in every sphere of the society, be it politics, economics, media, entertainment, engineering, and even the tech space. The theme for this year's celebration is Gender Equality Today for a Sustainable Tomorrow. Can we authoritatively say that women have been treated equally without bias? Our guest, Mrs. Chika Chukwu, founder, Mommy Moves and Magic, a platform founded to make mommies feel special, work towards a healthy life balance, and enjoy self-care without feeling guilty, is here to give us an in-depth insight on this issue and many more in relation to the topic of discuss. You're welcome, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Good to have you here after so long.
I know. And I'm finally here, and it's a good feeling. Good to see you. You look well.
Thank you, and you too.
Thank you.
We're actually celebrating the International Women's Day. And of course, this year we're talking about gender equality for a sustainable tomorrow. Gender equality today for a sustainable tomorrow. Now, can we say that the gender roles people have been taught to follow works well in our society?
This is a very good question, and I think one that is pretty obvious. There's a reason why we're celebrating what we're celebrating this year. There's a reason why this theme is what it is this year, and that's because the society and the world at large hasn't done much to seeing that our genders are balanced, that everybody has equal opportunity at work, at life in general, even in family, even within the family unit, right? So it's important. Days like this are important to remind us of the work that still needs to be done. Gender equality is still very much, the disparity is still a lot between what men benefit in the society and what women stand to gain as well. So it's important that we're having this conversation because a lot of work still needs to be done, in my opinion. So yes.
Growing up as kids, girls, we will say that the inequality have been on.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially culture-wise.
Absolutely. Because, it's funny because we live in a society where even as little girls, we're taught to, not taught back to, a man.
Submissive.
Be submissive, Even when a boy is mean to you, oh, he likes you. That's why he's being mean to you. So you're taught to endure a lot of bad treatment from the male folk. And unfortunately, we're the ones who have grown now, who are now still trying to find our voices in a space filled with men. So I think it's important that we remember to take this back to the family units. I keep saying that because I'm a mother, obviously, and I'm a mother to a girl child. So I understand the importance of making sure that equality, the topic of equality, starts with our homes. It starts with creating that balance in a home space so that when these children grow, it becomes nothing new to them. You raise them to understand that the fact that they're a girl means literally nothing as regards to what they can accomplish in this life. So if you're fortunate to have a boy and a girl child in a home, make sure that there's a balance with simple things like chores, okay? Don't make it look like, oh, the man can rest and watch TV and the girl is in the kitchen preparing dinner. Because that's how we grew up, you know. Daddy is always in the living room and mommy is the one trying to fix dinner. Something happened recently in my own home where, okay, currently we don't have a nanny. I've never had a nanny or a live-in help or any of that. And I find that it's helped my children to see that anybody can do chores, anybody can do anything. My husband doesn't cook because he doesn't know how to cook, right? So mommy is the one who has to make the food. But I grew up in a house where my father cooks all the time, right? So my son now, he derives joy in mixing the batter for pancakes because I'm always in the kitchen. So I'm like, oh yeah, everybody, all hands on deck, because how else are you going to survive outside of the four walls of this
life
house?
Skills.
It's a life skill. It has nothing to do with gender. So one other day they saw their daddy mopping. He was mopping the living room and they're like, oh, daddy's mopping. I'm like, yes, he's mopping. It's a life skill. You're not going to go and leave my house and employ a female help to come and mop your house when you have two functioning hands. So all of this starts with that equality, that balance starts with the home unit. So when they grow up and you send them out into the world, when you're talking equality, it's nothing new to them because that's what they know. That's how people should exist in a world with equal opportunities for everyone to thrive.
Can how a person is raised in the family affect the gender inequality thing?
Absolutely. Like, just stemming from everything that I've just said, like I just told you now, I grew up in a home where my daddy was constantly in the kitchen. So my sisters and I would always crack jokes about this, where we're like, if somebody walks into this house now and they see all of the girls in the living room cracking jokes and they open the kitchen door and see my father sweating over the stove, they'll be like, what is happening in this house? Irresponsible girls everywhere. But what makes it irresponsible? That your father, who brought you into this world with the help of your mother as well, has decided to cook a meal for his family. But because the society frowns upon that, why should a man,
culture,
the man of the house, why is he in the kitchen cooking and all his daughters are in the living room? But he's your father. He's taking care of you. He's doing what he is supposed to do. So imagine meeting somebody who grew up in a house where his own mother was the one who was constantly in the kitchen. You're going to have a clash when you meet such people outside because they've perpetuated that mentality in their own kids. Meanwhile, you are coming from a different background. So everybody doesn't have the same training. That's why it's on us now to keep having these conversations, because you go out into the world, you meet people who, that is their own truth. That is what they learned to live with. That is how they grew up. So of course, these are the mindsets that nurture people, that have led us into the problem that we're facing today. Little things that they seem like something so small, but it's all, that's where it starts, with the mind. So if I raise my child to believe that the fact that he's a boy doesn't mean he cannot cook, or the fact that you're a girl doesn't mean you cannot go and wash the car. Do you understand what I'm saying? You're already erasing that discrimination between who can do what. So that we're in a problem, we're where we are now as a society because of how we were raised. So to answer your question, absolutely, how we are raised affects how we see gender equality.
Now let's get to culture. We know that where some of us are from, it's a major thing.
Yes.
And this has affected the women especially. How can you explain this?
Listen, the thing about culture is that culture, it's a very hard one, because culture is something that we're born into. It is something that we are supposed to be proud of, something that we identify with. It literally gives us our identity as a people. So to come and question culture is always frowned upon. It's never received well. So it's a case of, no, that is what our fathers did and their fathers before them. Why would you think you can wake up today and decide that the woman suddenly has a voice? Do you remember, like, even within our culture, women are not allowed into all these meetings. When you say elders, or as my people will say, Nna is Igbo word for father, and a father is a male. So there was nothing like umunne, it's umuada, but your own roles are very minimal compared to what the men get to do. All the decision making concerning communities are made by men. Women are not even allowed to speak. If you were summoned to a meeting for a reason, you can't even speak up without permission.
Yes.
You know, you have to have been asked the question before you can talk. So these are elements in our culture that also needs addressing, because it more or less, you know, demeans the presence of the woman. It's almost like you're a nobody, like you're non-existent. So that is really tricky, having to deal with inequality as regards culture. It's something that needs to be addressed, but at the same time, the question begs, how do we even start? Because culture is something that is always difficult to change, because it kind of signifies where we are from, our identity.
You mentioned you mothers.
Yes.
You mothers are right now a very strong force to reckon with in Igbo land.
Absolutely.
So now they are finding their voices, and it's really helping to minimize a lot of things. But like you said earlier, culture is something that cannot be overemphasized or looked down upon, because these are things people grew into. When it comes to traditions and culture, how can you say that the government have been involved, especially when it comes to, you know, okay, like let's use the Igbo culture for example. They believe that a woman should not own a property, but that is not happening now. The learned ones are giving out properties to their daughters. The Umuadas have come to stay. So how has the government helped with the Umuadas when it comes to gender equality?
Okay. That's a very good question, because like you said, the Umuadas have found their voice. They are a very powerful force, you know, in our communities. You can't really function or do anything without the approval of the Umuadas, as much as you need the Umunas. And I find that a lot of governments, especially at the state level, as you know, they've been doing this, and I like that it's something that has continued, where they're constantly making an effort to empower women.
Yes.
So you see a lot of all these empowerment programs popping up in the form of NGOs and benefits from the government to women in rural areas, to, you know, empower them, not just within the community, but to help them build skills that would, you know, help them to also take care of the ones that they are raising in terms of their children in their communities. So yes, the government is doing some good work there, I must say. At least the much I know about my own state, I know that there's a lot of, you know, women empowerment programs that are going on. So it's a good thing that they're doing, even though of course nothing is always a perfect situation. Progress can always be made. More things could also be done. I feel like the Umuadas, you know, when women unite, Umuadas are one women unit that are quite unified. So when they make a decision, it's really difficult to change it.
Yes.
So I feel that can also be tapped into with regards getting them to make bigger decisions, not just for their families, for the community as well, as for the development of the community, not just with things that require their voices in terms of tradition, and you know, they can use that, tap into that strength that they have as a fold, and use it to foster more development for women in communities.
We know that most of the benefits we are enjoying as women today happened way back in 1929 when the Aba Women Riot took place. We know the likes of Janet Moore, Margaret Eko, of course. Those were the names we're hearing as at that time. How has it affected us right now? Because now more women groups are coming up, but we have not reached that percentage. But do you think that the little percentage that we have obtained can affect government to effect policies?
The thing about the percentage that you speak of is, if we're still a minute percentage, we can't really achieve much. We need to be a certain number of us in places that matter for our voices to be heard, right? And that brings me to a point I wanted to make. There's something that I heard about called the Queen Bee mentality. I don't know if you've heard of that before.
No.
The Queen Bee mentality is a mentality where a woman is, I don't want to use the word fortunate, but it's unfortunate that I have to. A woman finds herself in a space dominated by men. So for instance, you're in a board of directors for a huge company and you're the only woman in the room. So instead of sending back a ladder to pull up other women to join you so that your voices are louder when it comes to making decisions that affect you. You're enjoying being the only woman in the room.
The queen.
Yes, the queen bee. So you're enjoying that attention you get when they talk about, oh, the board of directors that so and so. Did you know here is only Mrs. Amanda, that's the only woman there? You like when people talk about you in that way. Instead of you to focus on doing what you should do as a woman, knowing the inequality that we face in places like that, to reach back and pull other women up. So that if they're voting, if there's a vote being cast or something and you need a majority, the men will always win if you're the queen bee in the room, because you're the only one going to say something on behalf of the women.
Yes.
So that's where the percentage thing comes in. This is where we have to charge our fellow women to also remember, if you're in a position of power, mentorship, sponsorship, do your best to pull up other women so that when it's time for your voices to be heard, you can scream loud enough because your numbers matter at that point.
We always hear things like mentioned Queen Bee. We always hear things about helping a fellow queen adjust her crown. But we barely see that because people complain about it.
Yeah.
That once a woman is in a space, she doesn't want others to come in. But is that true? Because I've seen women helping other women.
Absolutely. You know, with everything in life, there's always the truth to it, and of course there's another side which kind of debunks that. So this saying or that mindset didn't come out of nowhere. Unfortunately, it came out from people experiencing these things firsthand, where they have a female who could help them and chose not to, just because it's another woman, and I don't want that. It's happened. We cannot lie to ourselves and say it doesn't happen. But in the same vein, just like you've mentioned, there are instances where women are fighting tooth and nail, breaking down barriers, pushing down walls, bringing in so many other women into their fold. So it's neither here nor there. All we're now looking for is for more women to be on this other side of the fence, where we're like making it a life's mission at this point, because it's become a matter of life or death. Because think about it, if we're going to continue the way we are, it's not going to do much for our daughters coming behind us.
Sure.
It's not going to. So we have to be more aggressive with how we're pursuing this gender equality situation and the bias. It's alarming. When you hear the numbers, it's alarming. So we have to be able to pull up our own women. The men will not do it for us. We kind of waited for them for years to do something about it. But you can see they're not doing anything much. We love our men, we love our fathers, our brothers, our husbands, we love them. But unfortunately, the hierarchy has become so intense and so ingrained in society that they're enjoying the dividends of living above the female folk. All right, so they will not really do much to change the status quo. So it's on us. We have preached and preached and preached. It's time for us women to also try our best to pull up our fellow women when we find ourselves in places that of influence, basically.
Let's look at politics. When it comes to the election period, where people go to campaign and all that, they look for the women, especially the market women. And these women dare to go into places where men cannot go into. When they eventually win political appointments, the women are nowhere to be found. How can this be tackled?
Well, this is a tough one, because I'm not going to sit here and say that I know how it will be tackled, but I can imagine why it is so. You know, it's a case of, like I just said before, they enjoy the power that they have in the hierarchy, in the current state of the hierarchy of the society. Unfortunately, it's the men, the women, then the youth, then the children. So they find that it benefits them more, and they understand. That's the thing. They understand the power that the women have. That's why they go to you when they want something done. So when they get into the position of power, after they've used your influence to get what they want, they know that you're powerful. So when they take you and put you in the position of power, you could overtake. Like, you could literally overthrow the situation, and they don't want that. So they understand. So it's not from a place of negligence. So they don't think you're not capable. they know that you are beyond capable. That's why. So it's a case of, oh, these people will come and take over. Let's not, So it's an unfortunate situation, but we're not going to back down. What they want is to frustrate us into oblivion, into stopping to try. That's what they. I think that's what they hope for. But it's not going to happen.
No, but the truth is that they can't do without us.
They know that, but at the same time, they don't want to empower you to the point that they no longer have the power that they have.
Let's go to the office.
Okay.
Gender equality in the office. Sometimes this has become inevitable because it is not balanced. You employ a man and a woman with the same qualification, or you're giving the man a higher pay and the woman a lesser one. Why?
It's that societal mentality, cultural mentality that teaches us that the man is the breadwinner. Wherever he finds himself, the man is the sole provider. In a relationship, in a marriage, whatever it is, the society expects the man to be the one who handles the majority of the financial burdens of a family, right? So they think they're doing the family a favor by paying the man more.
But now we have women who are breadwinners.
That's what I'm saying. So that's part of the solutions to the problems that we're facing. We have to start to celebrate our female breadwinners as breadwinners, right? There really should be no disparity, like you said, between who brings what to the home. Everybody stands to benefit from whatever income is coming. Where it's coming from should be the least of your worries. So if I'm married and I'm any more than my husband, why is that a problem? Why is it a problem? If it's not from a place of superficial ego, it's nothing more than that. Do you understand? It's not like I'm earning my own money. There's no law that says if a woman is earning more than the man, the money now has to go somewhere else. It's still going back to the family. But because there's this mentality that a woman who earns more than her husband is an alpha female, she's going to start bossing him around, she's no longer going to be submissive, she will forget who she is, forget her role in the family, which is beneath her husband. So you're perpetuating all of these lies. She's only earning more money. It's as simple as that. And it could be because she works in a company that has more money to offer in terms of salary. It has nothing to do with who is the head of the home and who is not. No. But society has taught us to believe that a woman who earns more stands to start behaving funny. She's going to start acting up. She's going to start thinking she's the head of the home. No. We have to celebrate our female breadwinners just as much as we celebrate the men. And I like that you brought this office matter up, because we also need to look into the part of companies that make women afraid to own their parenthood or their motherhood. Do you know that's a thing? Where people hide that they're pregnant at work because their bosses will start to, either relegate them to the background. You're pregnant. You suddenly become useless, right?
Once a woman is pregnant, she's not employed.
Oh yes,
so
exactly. And even when you have a job and you give birth, you find that women always complain that their careers suffer because they became parents. In the same vein, men are celebrated for the same thing. I'll give you a story. When I was single, I met this man who wanted to marry me, and he was coming on so strong. I'm like, who is this one? I don't really know you like that. But he was determined to get married. And God blessed me, because he was upfront with me as to the reasons why he wanted to marry me. It had nothing to do with the fact that I'm such a fantastic human being, or he looked at me and said, this will make a great life partner. I like that she's very nurturing, she can be a great mom to my kids. It was none of those things. It was simply because one of his bosses at work, had told him on the low that there was a promotion on the line, and the only way to get that promotion was if he was a family man.
Whoa.
Yes. So that you're literally celebrating a man who has a family. But if a woman has a family, you think 2 times, 3 times before you employ her, because she's already like coming with baggage. She has children. How long? She'll now come and go on maternity leave. Now, wow, will she be here with I beg? No, why? What has she done but to create something beautiful in the form of a child? She's busy creating a life, and she's willing to come back to work, but you make it so difficult for her. So she's busy hiding her child. She's thinking of, do I tell them I'm pregnant? Do I not? Why do we have to shroud all of that in secrecy but reward the men who are starting families, like, oh, you need a raise now, you are a family man.
Yes.
It's the same thing about looking down on the female gender and not thinking that we're good enough to do the same things that men do. And it shouldn't be.
Still talking about the office. When women give birth and they come back from their maternity leave, the offices, I know very few, not even up to 10%, the offices do not make the place child friendly.
Oh, at all. Not at all.
And this affects the women. So most of them have to continue with their leave without pay.
Yeah.
What do you think of this?
It's a very saddening situation because I know exactly what you mean. It's very disheartening. I recently came across a mother who, she was on maternity leave when I ran into her. So we're excited and celebrating her baby, and I'm asking, when are you going back to work? And her face literally fell. What's going on? She says she doesn't know what to do. She needs to go back to work, but she'd rather have her baby close. So because the office, like you just said, is very far from child friendly, she's now thinking of ways where she can go drop her baby in the morning. This is a baby who is like 4 months old. So it's not even like a 1-year-old child you need to put in a school or a proper daycare. So she really wanted that proximity where if she had to breastfeed, she can quickly run, you know. But because the stigma around motherhood, it's alarming, because these men who are stigmatizing women for having children are children, were once children and came from mothers as well. You understand? So it's really sad. So they act like they dropped from Mars and suddenly became adults. No, you came from somewhere. And this woman is creating a life and trying to build a family and showing up and working just as hard as the men, twice as hard even, just so that she can keep up. But here you are making life difficult for her by not providing something as simple as a workspace where she can go, a breastfeeding station where she can change the child's nappy without disrupting anybody. Simple things. All they're asking for is even like a small, just one room. One room can literally, in an office,
even be up to one room?
Just a room can solve all of that. It's a changing station, it's a play, you know, have toys and a padded room where the kids can run around, a bed where you can put them to sleep, something. But they don't even think about that because it doesn't directly affect them, you know. And like I said, at the top is usually a lot of men making those decisions, so they don't understand what you're talking about. They don't understand why you feel the need to, you know, take a break from work to go and breastfeed. Like, why is that something important? But imagine if you had a company that was equally balanced. We're not saying a company that has all women at the top. If that's wonderful, if that happens, then great. But a company that has a balance of men and women, if that's the case, imagine that and how the policies would be so different. You know, so that's why we fight for what we fight for today.
Looking at, you know, things that are happening now. Earlier on when we started the program, we mentioned something about mentorship. Women, like people will say, in quotes, are their own enemies. Most men don't allow women mentor them. Why do you think so?
It's this is funny to me because I don't know why. I honestly cannot tell you for the life of me why a man would not let a woman mentor them. But trying to think about it from a practical perspective, a woman's experiences are very different from a man's perspective, from a man's experiences in the world. So I'm trying to imagine that it could be practically from a place of, okay, I need to learn how to survive this business as a man, right?
But we have women who run businesses.
Oh, absolutely. But you can't tell me that their experiences are the same as the men who also run similar businesses. Very different. Absolutely different. Women always have to work twice as hard. So when things are easier for the men, it's not for the women. So from a practical perspective, I'm saying if that's a practical person, that's probably why they would want to be mentored by a fellow, somebody in the same gender space as them. But I don't think it matters. If anything, you even stand to benefit more from a woman mentoring you because her wealth of experience is very different and very vast, because it's been harder. She took the harder way, so she probably would have more lessons to share, right? But it's also probably the same thing, you know, the thing where, oh, why would I allow a woman mentor me? You know, that's ego trip situation, which I think is completely.
But do you think most
absurd.
Women are open to mentoring younger girls?
Of course, I think so.
because some of the girls are complaining. I'll give you an instance. In one of the um, associations where I belong, there was an exhibition and all that, and most of the younger girls were complaining that, oh, I met this big names and they gave me a shoulder, somebody that they've been seeing on social media, following the person. And when one of them was complaining to me, I said, how did you approach her? How did you approach her? Because you can't come on struck to me and expect me to let my guards down because I don't know why you're coming. I've had younger girls send me messages who I wanted to be my mentor. And I tell them, look, mentorship is not just a physical thing, it's a spiritual thing. You're pouring yourself into another person.
Absolutely.
So how would you cope if you're not able to meet deadlines, do things I tell you to do? Of course, you'll do your own check and all that, because for you to come up and say, oh, you want to be mentored and all that, are there associations, places where it's even organized that, okay, let's get some girls together and mentor them?
I don't know, honestly, because I think I've seen a few on social media. I've seen a few adverts where people want to mentor younger people, especially for specific specialized fields. It could be somebody, I know somebody in the media was planning one to mentor women in media and see, what they want to do. There was another one for women in film. So I do know that these mentorship platforms exist. But you made an important point, which is, how are you coming on to these people? How are you approaching them when you meet them in person? It's not like it was an event. You didn't meet them at an event, it's a mentorship event, for instance, and they gave you a cold shoulder. You met them somewhere else. Anything could have been happening. You can't really use that to judge and say, oh, this person was cold to me because she treated me so and so when I met her and so and so. No, she was out there doing something that had nothing to do with mentoring. So if you're approaching somebody in that space, there are ways to do it. You can't just walk up to people and demand their time when they're in the middle of something. So you're not going to always get a pleasant response. That does not mean that this person will not be willing to mentor you if you met them in a different situation, under different circumstances, right? So I do believe that a lot of women are willing. I believe in our fold. Let me tell you that, Amanda. I believe in women.
I know, you're strong advocate.
Yes, I believe in women so much. And I said this before. Yes, all of that stereotypes, all that stigma that women don't like each other, it came from somewhere, unfortunately. That was our story at some point, but not anymore. I choose to believe otherwise. I believe that there are women out there who are rooting for young people to succeed. There are women out there who want to mentor young people, who want to teach them, show them the way, bring them up the ladder. I believe there are women like that. So just keep your ears down and in the right place and you will find them.
Can policies and initiative be gender friendly, especially when it comes to women? Because there are some policies that have been implemented that are not, I won't say women friendly, like all those maternity leave. A woman should even have as much as 6 months or 1 year, because handling kids, especially when you have twins, it's a challenge. But they don't see that way. Like you said earlier, they are the top, so they don't really understand what's going on. Now when it comes to development, how would you say it has helped women in this country?
Listen, we have a long way to go in terms as a nation. Like I said, I did say that I know states are doing their best, planning a lot of women empowerment programs to empower women in the grassroots. But I do know that there's still a lot of room for improvement. A lot of work to still be done. A lot of policies that can still be implemented to protect the woman and protect our interests. And I like that you mentioned the maternity leave situation, because it's something that I see a lot of countries are adopting new methods and policies that favor the woman, and it's beautiful to see. And some of these countries are countries that don't even have female leaders, so they're starting to see the importance of these types of policies and how it affects women and how it helps them. So yes, there's a lot of work to be done. Policies can definitely be better when it comes to women and how we're treated as a country. If we go into the specifics of it now, we might not have the time, but I do know that there's always room for improvement. Yes.
Breaking the bias. Hashtag. That is what we are celebrating this year.
That is.
So, how can we break through when it comes to gender equality?
Everything we've said so far, definitely keeping in line with everything we've said so far, but I'll just go ahead and reiterate for the sake of emphasis. You know how you walk into a place and you see a dad? I'll give you an example. I go for school run. I go to the school and I see when a mom drops a child at school, nobody looks at her twice. It's your work now. Like, who was supposed to bring the child to school? But if a dad drops a child at school, it's like, oh my goodness, such an involved dad, you know? I'm like, why? What is involved in dropping his child at school? Like, who was going to do it? You know? So we have to start from little things like that. Martin Luther King said something. He said, if I cannot do great things, I will do small things in a great way. So it's little things like that. It starts with all those small drops of water. Why are you applauding a father who came for school run? When the mother comes, you barely offer a greeting. But when it's the dad, you're excited to see, oh, his father, he came for school run. He's not.
Why exactly? If I may ask.
It's his father. It's the child. Like, is he dropping a bag of grass? He's bringing his child to school. Do you understand? Or for instance, you see, there's another example that is very rampant. Oh yes, a mom needs to go somewhere, okay, and she needs to leave her children at home with their father. So he might now make an Instagram post and say, oh, babysitting today. I'm like, who are you babysitting? You're parenting. Those are your children. Babysitting would be somebody watching a child who doesn't belong to them.
Yeah.
It could be an auntie, a sister, whoever. But if you're looking after your child, your parents, that's what it's called. So when you say babysitting, you give the impression that it is not your job. It is not your primary purpose. They are not your own children. And you're helping your wife look after your children. No, you're not babysitting. So little things like this, that's where it starts. That bias of, applauding the daddies when they do the bare minimum as parents, but the mothers are overlooked when they're doing the bare minimum as well. When they're doing the most anyway, because we carry most of the burden, in homes and in parenting as well. So it starts from little things like that. And I did say something else again. I said, let's remember to celebrate female breadwinners. Simple things like that. Making more money is not stamped anywhere that it's a man thing. A woman can be rich. True. A woman can be wealthy. It doesn't mean she's nasty. It doesn't mean she's going to become rude all of a sudden. A good person is a good person. So why doesn't money change men the way you claim it changes women? Do you understand what I'm saying? Yes. A rich man is looked at and applauded and everybody's like, oh, what's a responsible man, he has made a living for himself. But if a woman is rich, you're looking at her, where did she even get this money? How did
Who gave her?
How did she even acquire this wealth? You're like, why? We have to get that out of our heads and believe that what a man can do, a woman can do equally as good. Do you understand? So it starts from little things like that. We have to remember that everybody is on earth striving to make a living for themselves. So if a woman is making a lot of money, that's exactly what it is. She's working hard and she's earning her pay. And then that queen bee mentality is an important one we need to stop. This one is on us, the women. We need to mentor more. Don't be afraid of the next woman coming up. It doesn't affect your shining. It doesn't affect your star. It doesn't affect anything. It empowers you. It empowers us. The Umada is a perfect example. When they are together, the things that they do, the things that they accomplish. Go and ask your mother in your village. Ask her about the Umadas. The things that they do, because they are unified. So imagine what we could do for development, for policies.
Actually get scared when they say out.
Umadas are coming. Everybody's shaking quaking in their boots. That's how it should be. In workplaces, you're unified. You put up a solid front. And with my sister, what do you want, right? Put up a solid front. And let's not also forget the home unit, because that's where it starts. No matter how much we talk here, everything we're fighting for, where are we? We're almost heading to our father's ages, So we're doing everything we're doing for the people who are coming behind us, so that when they get here, they have nothing to worry about. So we must also start now to raise the young ones to understand that what they can do does not matter. Like what they can do, their gender has nothing to do with it. what they can accomplish is based solely on their ability to accomplish that.
Yeah.
Doesn't have anything to do with the fact that you're a boy or you're a girl. So we have to always remember that.
Can we say that gender equality is a major concern for men? Why the
Because it is. I think it is, and I'll tell you why. It's a concern for men, and I think I've dabbled into this a bit within this conversation. I think it's a concern for men because, like we've said, they understand the power that we wield as a unified front, as women, even as individuals. They look at you and they're like, this woman, she's up to something. So they know, they understand it. So it's a concern for them as regards how much it will affect the hierarchy, the current hierarchy, where the man is above the woman, where the man earns more than the woman, where the man is glorified more than the woman.
Yeah.
So if we get what we want, they feel threatened that they will lose their place. But I think the male folk need to understand that all of us, who are fighting for this equality and breaking this bias, we're not doing it so that you will suffer. No. I want to draw inspiration from racism as it affects people in the West, in the Western world. When they say Black Lives Matter, for instance, nobody is saying that the white lives don't matter. They're only saying that Black Lives Matter because of the hardships, the discrimination, the bad treatment that they received for years. So it's just a question of, can we exist as comfortably as you do? That's all we're asking. Nobody's saying, can we exist more comfortably than you? We're not trying to switch places.
So in other words, the men should not feel
Threatened. No, don't need to.
Because we're just there to support them.
Yes, we're just there to, rub shoulders and give high fives on the hallway on our way to the boardroom. That's all we're there for. Don't worry.
This is still Feminine Scope, and we're discussing gender equality as it affects women. And remember that we're celebrating the International Women's Day. We are breaking the bias. We're going on a short break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Feminine Scope, and we have been discussing gender equality as we celebrate the International Women's Day. We still have our guest with us, Chika, Chukwu, founder, Mommy Moves and Magic. We're back.
Yes, we are.
Now, Mommy Moves and Magic. Where did that name come from? Because I know it's a platform that celebrates women too.
Yes.
So, how did this start?
Okay, so first of all, it actually started as something I was doing for myself. Because after I had my children, I struggled. I really did. I was that person who was a very driven career person. I was doing my work very focused. I had big dreams, big plans. And then motherhood happened. Ask anybody who knows me, I love my children to death. But at the same time, I struggled with accepting that I was now a mother. I just wanted my old life so, I wanted it back so much. And I struggled, in my mind, if I accept that I'm now a mommy, maybe I'll never have the life that I had before. I wouldn't be able to work as much as I did before. So it was a struggle for me for a while. But I had to sit down and say to myself, Chika, this is now your legacy. These children are looking at you. You're the first point of what a woman should look like, especially for my daughter. So I was looking at her and I'm like, nah, I have to do something about this. This girl is not going to grow up having me as a mom, and every day she wakes up and she's looking at me and I'm grumpy, I'm not doing anything, I'm just frustrated. So for her sake, I said, you know what? I'm going to be an example. I'm going to be shining light for my daughter. So when she looks at her mother, she's proud. When she hears my name, she's like, that's my mom, So for her sake, I picked up myself and I brushed off my shoulders and I said, let's do something about this. So I created this platform. At first, for myself. Mommy, that was me finally accepting that it's not going anywhere.
Mom,
you are a mother. Deal with it, okay? So that was the first thing. And then the moves was me saying, I'm a mother, but I can still make the moves that I made before I became one. So that's where the moves came from. And of course, you know me very well, so my personality is always sprinkled with some magic, okay? So that's where the magic aspect came from. So I started with sharing aspects of my life on that platform and just telling people, just sharing my journey with motherhood, how I raise my babies, how I enjoy myself when I have the time, right? Because life is not all about the children. You're your own person. You can never pour from an empty cup. You have to take care of yourself
Yes,
first
true.
before you can give that love and fulfillment back to another human being. So that was me. So people are like, how do you have time to do this? Your children always look so well put together. How do you have time to do
And
that?
like you mentioned, you never had a nanny.
Oh, never had a nanny. Never.
How did you
Never.
manage?
I'm here. Like I'm here. Me, I'm so paranoid when it comes to nannies. I'm always like, even when I travel home and my sister's nanny is trying to help me out with my kids, I'm like looking at her with a microscope, like, what is she doing? Is she trying to do? So I'm not going to live like that. So I said, you know what? I'm going to pick up my big girl pants and I'm going to get the job done. And I find that it has its benefits as well as its downsides. The downside being that sometimes you feel very overwhelmed because you have a lot of things to do. But the bright side is that my children see me do these chores. They see me take care of everything by myself, me and their dad, my husband. So they now know it's nothing new to them. So they pick up their own stuff because they see mommy do it. They're like, okay, for them it's now the norm. Chores are the norm. I don't have to instruct you to do anything. That's how we live. I'm picking up, carry your own, let's be going. Do you understand? So I find that I don't struggle with that because they see me do it. You're literally an example. So whatever you're doing, children I see and I do. So they're literally doing. So that's taken care of. So we've survived. We've made it work. So when people approach me on the platform, on Instagram, for instance, and they're like, they send me messages. How do you do it? I'm struggling. I can't find the time to even have fun. How do you have the time? I said, you make the time. It's the same thing where if something is important to you, you will find a way to make time for that thing, right? So you make the time. You are number one. You always will be number one. If something happens to you today, God forbid, your children will still go. Your husband may remarry, but you're gone. You have to take care of yourself, right? So I started with, giving all these advices in my DMs, and I'm like, you know what? How about we come together one day and make this a whole party? How about we come together and literally just support each other, talk to each other, have fun with each other, and that was how it was born. I started to plan these events where mothers come together, we're having a good time without the kids. Sometimes, because I'm one person who also loves to enjoy my time with my children, like I don't play with
always
this.
tag along.
Oh yes, so I started to also do play dates for the children as well. So it's either we're having our me time as moms or we're having a bonding time with the kids. So we all go out, we plan like cookie play dates where we're decorating cookies, or we'll do a picnic at the zoo. It's been even here, like we're in a place where I have come to before to play. So I always make sure that the activities are things that will create bonding and there's a lot of laughter and distressing, because motherhood is not a walk in the park. I know that firsthand. So I'm happy to have that space where everybody comes together and just unwind, distress, and go back to your family rejuvenated and happy. Yes.
There was a time you did a makeover for widows, so
yes,
something like that. What
Yes.
prompted you to do that?
Oh,
Especially for the, looking at those pictures, it felt so good. The transformation, how their faces lit up,
Yes.
and the gifts they were given. What inspired you to do that?
Right. So first of all, not all of them were widows. Some of them still had their husbands alive. But I found that they were women I came across in literally my everyday life. One of them, two of them actually were my banana and granite customers along the route to my children's school. Another one was a customer in the market who I always shopped from. And another one was somebody who someone introduced me to. I know she sells akara along the roadside. So these were women, and every time that I stop and I talk to them, I hear something new. It's always one problem or the other. And being the kind of person that I am, I'm an empath. So every time that I hear something from them, I'm now thinking about them all the way home. I'm thinking, she said something about her son. How can I help? How can I help? And the idea literally came to me. I'm not going to lie to you. I was sitting on my, the toilet is a place for ideas. So I'm sitting there one night, I'm just pressing my phone, and they came to my mind again, and I'm thinking, how can I help these people? How can I? And it just came to me. So it was divine. I can't tell you that somebody said, I cannot even tell.
And people really helped.
People came out in their numbers with the support. It was overwhelming, because what I tried to do was give them a day like they've never had, So we had a complete makeover for them. I contacted designers who made them new outfits. I contacted a salon. My friend owned a salon, so she gave them pedicures, did their makeup, gave them hair, did their hair. We had a whole photo shoot for them where we sent up their pictures. We had people support with cash, lots of clothes, shoes for the children. We went shopping for them. And the beauty of all of this was that we also gave them cash to take home. The beauty was that it happened after the day we had the event. The very next day, the lockdown was announced.
Oh.
So it was so divine because these women they called me like almost every day throughout the lockdown. Every single day, like every one of them will call and say, thank you so much. We're still eating from the things that you gave us. We're still eating from the things.
Wow.
So every time they call me, I'm like trying not to cry because who could have thought? I had no idea a pandemic was coming. I had no idea that we're going to be in a lockdown. Something just prompted me to do that for them, and it served them for a long time. And so for that, I'm grateful. But what I don't like now is that every time I go to go and buy something, they don't want me to pay. I'm like, no, I will pay for this plantain, this banana, and pay for it. Because they're so grateful.
Yeah.
I'm like, I didn't do that to now get free
heart.
plantain and free granola for the rest of my life. No, we're still trying to support you. That's the whole point of what we did, So it was very beautiful.
So you just didn't make them over and do makeover for them?
Yes.
You still supported their business?
Yes, we had we gave them cash. I don't want to say the figure, but it was a good sum of money. So it's with the everybody had like a take-home envelope of cash, to take home with them, and then there were big cartons of provisions for their families, food stuff, clothes. It was beyond what I imagined would happen. It was very beautiful, and I'm thankful to everyone who supported and to God. It was very nice.
So, what is the plan for Mother's Day or celebrating the International Women's Day?
All right, so that what I did. This was in 2020. So what I did back then,
because you always have something to celebrate every Mother's Day.
Yes, I do.
You probably, like you said, you're an empath.
Yes.
So it pushes you into doing something.
Absolutely.
Like when mothers are mentioned or women, your ears just stand.
Spikes. Like, what can I do? What's happening? What are they saying? How do they need me to come in? Right?
So what's your plan for International
this time
Women's Day?
around, I'm taking it to the children. And the children who are motherless. That's what I'm planning for. So I'm planning to throw the motherless a huge party like they've never seen. I'll pick a specific place because it would have been nice to move them to a place, but I don't want the logistics and the safety concerns there to move them out maybe somewhere here. That would be a little tricky to manage because you want the kids to be safe. So I will have to take the party to them. So the plan is to go with mothers who are willing. Some already indicated they want to come with their own kids as well.
Oh, wow.
So we'll go with our kids so they can also
experience and see what
the life is not always as you see. Not everybody wakes up and says, I want pizza today. Nope. Doesn't happen like that for everybody. So some of us have said we're going with the children. So the plan is to go on that day with food, drinks, supplies, things that they need. Because I've been to the place that I'm trying to use, and I hear the day I went, most of the kids were not even around because they were in school, and that made me happy. It's like they go to school. That's beautiful. So now I'm trying to source for funds to see how we can support. If they can have some money to pay school fees for, even if it's 110 for a few of the kids, that kind of thing. So I'm rallying the troops, as I call them. Some moms have signed up that they're coming. Everybody's excited. They're coming with big coolers of food and drinks. So we're all going to go there, have a big Mother's Day party with the motherless children. Give them a feel of what it feels like to have a mom. One company even reached out. They make safe detergents and all of that. And they said they want to come with moms to do the laundry for the kids that day.
Wow.
I didn't even think of that. So I was like, that is so sweet. So as we're partying, so people are doing laundry at the back. Just make them feel loved, even if it's for a few hours. But I know it's something that they will never forget, because I know I have memories from when I was a child when something I felt was quite magical happened. And even though I knew at the time that it might not happen again, that memory, when I'm feeling down, I remember it and it lights up my day. So that's the present I want to give them for Mother's Day.
Do you miss being a career woman?
Oh, I don't miss, not that I mean, I'm back in the game, okay. So, yes, but I don't miss it anymore. I missed it when I didn't have it, but now I'm back and I'm doing what I love. I have my own talk show, it's digital, and I'm doing things that I love, and I'm fulfilling needs and meeting needs and adding value. So I'm feeling very fulfilled. So very fine.
Thank you so much, Chika Chukwu, for honoring our invitation and being with us on Feminine Scope.
Thank you so much, Amanda. I had the best time today, trust me. Thank you
And
very
happy
much.
International Women's
Happy
Day.
International Women's
Break
Day.
the barrier.
Break the bias. Yes.
We sincerely appreciate you for taking our time to be with us. Our guest has been Mrs. Chika Chukwu, founder Mommy Moves and Magic, a platform founded to make mommies feel special, work towards a healthy life balance, and enjoy self-care without feeling guilty.
Whether deliberate or unconscious, bias makes it difficult for women to move ahead. Knowing that bias exists is not enough. Action is needed to level the playing field. Individually, we are all responsible for our own thoughts and actions. We can break the bias in our communities, we can break the bias in our workplaces, and we can break the bias in our schools. Together, we can all break the bias on International Women's Day and beyond. Let's have gender equality today for a sustainable tomorrow. Break the bias. That's our package for today on the program. Join us same time next week. Bye-bye.